So I kind of wrote it out of like desperation to say like, hey, I have to do something. But the title came to me and I said, what's this story about? It's about, and then it was like, it's about a day in America, right? So the title really, it's very rare that a title kind of leads you throughout the whole path of the story. But I ended up writing like 50 pages that night.
Hey everyone, it's David Stark from Watch Your Pass, and I'm talking to Emilio Mauro, the director and writer of Another Day in America, which is currently on the festival circuit and is showing next at the Boston International Film Festival on April 11th, 2024. I'm going to talk to him right now, and while you're watching, if you could like and subscribe to this channel, that would be fantastic. I'll spend a lot. Thank you. All right, so thanks so much for joining me today. I've got Emilio Mauro, the writer and director of Another Day in America, which is currently on the festival circuit and is screening next at the Boston International Film Festival on April 11th, 2024. It is a film about just a standard day in an American office and how some of the good and bad of society intersect with that with some very surprising results. It is funny, it is dark comedy, it is satire, it is trying to say something about America, and I'm very excited to talk to you. So thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, of course. So, first question, you wrote this film. What was the inspiration for this film? Did you have a really, really bad day in the office, or was there something else about this?
No, like, so it's going to be a little spoilery. So I have
That's
to do at this point, right? Because it's like, well, actually, I'll do this. Well, I actually don't have to be spoilery. So there was, so I knew what the ending was when I wrote it. Like I knew, look, so I said, I want to do this. And it's inspired by a shooting in an office, which was one town over from where I lived. And what really hit me, it was it was 1999. It was, so shootings were still kind of new, right? So, but what really hit me is the first time I ever thought of the victims. And normally you'd always think of, well, who's the shooter? Why'd he do it? Oh my God, right? Um, and the reason why I thought of the victims is because it was the day after Christmas.
oh
The
wow,
shooting happened the day after, yeah.
oh wow.
So, and I thought like, wow, people went in the office that day thinking like, I burnt the turkey, or I wish I spent more time with my mom, or but my gift sucked, or whatever, right? Whatever the day after Christmas brings. And these people were in the office, and and it was midday. It didn't happen in the morning. It was kind of like throughout the day. And I wanted to write something where it just came out of the blue, because that's where shootings happen. You go to Walmart, you go to Kmart, wherever. No one's expecting to get killed in a mass shooting. So I had that piece, and which it sucks to have to spoil it, because I spoil it now, if people watch it like, oh, now I'm expecting it, right? But maybe we can work around it. But I wanted to tell you where it came from. So um so then I had to lead its way to the end, right? So like I have this cultural event at the end, right? Like at the end of
Mhm.
the film, this problem that we have in our society, and I couldn't like make Glengarry Glen Ross and then have like a shooting at the end. It would the tone it just wouldn't feel right, right? Um so I wanted to kind of have it about America, right? Like who we are as people and what the things we fight about and the things we deal with, and like, and I wanted to be like extreme with it, like fringy in a way. Um Maybe not fringy as much as extreme. Like I wanted like everyone to have a motive of,
Mhm.
because I want people to notice it, right? So if
Yeah.
it's too neutral and soft, then it's gonna like, because I have to keep your attention to that point, right? So I have to keep your attention. I have to give you enough that's kind of a smoke screen in a way, right? So I lead you to the end, and um, yeah. But I think I answered your question. There was something else too I wanted to say, but I can't think of it. But
No, no worries.
yeah.
I'm just amazed, like, this happened in 1999 that stuck with you for this long. Did you kind of like write a treatment then and just kind of wait until it was time, or was this something when you were kind of like seeing
No,
society as it was, like that event kind of came back to you and you're like, that was the start of this film?
no, I wrote it as a short um years ago, and it sucked. Um, It really did. It was terrible. It was more like just a comedy that ended up happening that way. And all these things, these like you know, the, 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 the Greg and Tracy character and some of the things they're going through with it, just kind of like as time went on, it actually made more sense that I waited, it was just luck. And maybe as time goes on, it'll make more sense. Right. So, um, no, I didn't wait for any reason. I wrote it sort of, I knew I wanted to do this, self-contained story. I know I can be done cheaply. It's a very diverse cast. It's a very ensemble cast. I didn't need like one lead to like carry me through, which is really hard to do in smaller films because you have to ask someone to basically work for nothing and then have them be there for 20 days, right? So if there's like one guy on every page and that's his journey. So I was able to kind of, and I knew all this going in that like, all right, I need someone for 4 days. I need someone for 3 days. I need someone for 5 days. So that design was always there. I want to go back to something because it was important. So I knew I wanted an event to leak into the office that was personal and like, so there's obviously this night out drinking before that kind of storm, like puts the office in the storm, right? The girl, ends up with the client, the other guy, right, ends up hooking up with the other girl in the office, right? And so, because Christmas is a very weird day, right? It's a day that got brought into the office. I mean, I made that leap to say, like, I'm assuming those people weren't like ready to jump out of bed the day after Christmas and get to work and close a deal. They were probably just sitting around being like, I don't even want to be here. You know what I mean? Like, so I
Yeah,
wanted
no, for
to
sure.
leap into the office. That was because to me, the day after Christmas would be pretty like the worst day to work. It's not as bad as actually working on Christmas, but it's probably pretty bad, right? I mean, even the day after Thanksgiving, people actually don't go to the office. It was really weird that these people went on the day after Christmas. And that shooter, it's very loosely like the guy who actually did was a complete, you can look it up. I'll say it offline, right? But I'll make sure you could just Google it. It's 1999 Edgewater technology shootings.
Okay.
But that was another motivating thing. So I knew I had to like leak in the day before into the office, something personal, have it like I had writer's block for hours. And that doesn't seem like a lot to you, but when you think about it, I had it in my head for so long. And I wrote it December 31st, 2020. I was sick in bed with COVID and I wanted to remember my New Year's, so I wanted to write the story. And we're just coming out of COVID. I mean, no one was working still, like, like very select films were getting made, like Tom Cruise films. So I kind of wrote it out of like desperation to say, like, hey, I have to do something. But the title came to me and I said, what's this story about? And then it was like about a day in America, right? So the title it's very rare that a title kind of leads you throughout the whole path of the story. But I ended up writing like 50 pages that night.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, which is crazy. And
So productive. That's amazing.
dialogue. Yeah, a lot of dialogue, but let me shut my phone off. But that's how I write, you know what I mean? Obviously, it's very dialogue driven film.
Yeah, for sure. And two things about that. One, it's amazing that your title is Another Day in America, which is I've talked to some indie directors and indie film people that say you should try to get like a high alphabet letter title because then in the like new releases it'll be towards the top and you have an A name, which is perfect. And it also drove your film, which is
Yeah.
a good plan on your part. The other thing is, like you mentioned, this happened in 1999. You kind of sat with it for a while. Sadly, like it is still relevant. There's other aspects of your film that are kind of new issues, social media, COVID, all that stuff, but the underlying conflict is still relevant in America, which is just
Yeah,
sad. I mean, it's I guess
this is a
good for your film, but
like
sad for us.
make no mistake, like there's a lot of stuff in there, but this is a movie about a mass shooting,
Mhm.
which is crazy because I don't do it until the very end. And everything I did to get there, I'm not saying it was a trick or a smokescreen. There's obviously a lot of important narrative conversations that they have and we can discuss. And I just wanted to try my best to kind of keep it in the into that craft of narrative, which is like if you have two people in a room fighting, they both have to be comparable. They both have to have their, like I go in there without, I'm a referee. I'm not a judge, right? So as the writer, and I'm not there to judge anybody. If a million people watch this, I'd want a million different point of views. So that kind of led its way to the end. So a lot of it, and that you notice I break it up into times. I felt like
Yep.
that was helpful too. Is that like
Yep.
it's like this? I'm leading you towards something. A lot of people watch it the second time and actually enjoy it more. I don't know if that's good or bad, but it's just something that I've noticed.
I could definitely see that because I think with the ending, which for me was a surprise. Like I didn't read about the movie. I didn't read anything about it before watching it. So that ending was kind of a shocking event. I could
It
see
is like
going back. Well,
I want you to feel as much as I could. Like there's different versions of this. I mean, there's visually like if I make cuts for certain reasons that like I just wanted the audience to, even if it's 1%, to feel like, oh, like I was really caught up in these characters, and maybe I hated one and I liked one, but at the end, that's how mass shootings happen. You don't know they're going on. You're kind of caught up in your own bullshit, and maybe you don't have any bullshit. You're just trying to buy something from Walmart, but so that really was that's the only intentional thing I did in the film. Nothing else was intentional. Like I just I let it roll,
Yeah.
So.
And speaking of the characters, the first thing that jumped out at me was the cast. I mean, I love Alexis Knapp and everything, and I was shocked. It was fun to see her character, fun to see her play like this, badass kind of not the boss of the office, but she kind of was a boss in this office. How did you get her involved? Had you worked with her before, or did you don't know her at all, or?
No, Oliver Trevena, who plays Scott, who like has that rant, you know what I'm talking about, the bald guy. He's like kind of the heartbroken guy. He knew her, and I got through him to a friend. But he basically said, I made a list of actresses that I thought would be, I did. I put her on a list, which is really interesting. And he said, I know her. I was like, oh, good. And Alexis kind of, she's talented, right? Like, she sings, she dances, she's funny, she does all these things. But like, I felt like I noticed a lot. I told her, I said, I see things you do and then they don't let you do it, right? They kind of like get mad for 30 seconds or do this for 10 seconds. And I'm like, well, why don't we try that for a whole film? And right?
Yeah.
She never come there's been moments where she's played something like this, I guess, right? Like at least I've seen it in the eyes or in the performance, like for like little bits. But it wasn't a leap of faith. I literally told her that. I was like, yeah, I think you can do this, So yeah, but
yeah, no, that's awesome. And it is fun. I'm sure it was fun for her to kind of have that freedom, be able to like be this character for an entire film. Like you said, it feels like sometimes maybe she's a little bit constrained based on the film, but in this one you were able to like,
yeah, she's a little typecasted.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, she's a little typecasted. But that's what's cool about indies, right? You get to do things that you're, can't do. Like somewhat. And there was a point before all of this, actually. Remember, I said I wrote in 2021. I literally wrote this in like 3 weeks, and I had like a workable draft to send out after a few months. And people wanted to make this for like I had producers like that, made good films. Like that one producer was nominated for an Oscar. Was trying to make this for more money, and I'm just like, nah, But then there was a whole other journey that I went on. I never wanted to direct this. I never really wrote it to direct it. I never directed before. I never
that
had
that was another question, because I noticed this was your first, director. This is your directorial debut. Like what kind of caused you to step behind the lens? Was it just like you said, you just wanted to like do this your way, or was there some other reason?
Really, like I was actually, when I wrote it, I was like, oh, like who can I send this to? But I watched it randomly. I watched a Fellini interview, and he just literally had the same exact journey. He wrote things. He always rewritten. They make them and screw them up. Or they listen. As a writer, you never want to get rewritten, especially the way I write. And that's it. Really, it was just that interview. It gave me courage.
That's awesome. I'm
glad
that. Well, I'm glad's not the right word. It is nice that COVID caused you to like sit down and actually write this treatment, and then also it seems like it kind of caused you to step behind the lens and stretch that as well, which is great. Like it's always good for people to grow during COVID. It's always good to hear those stories. So I'm glad that was kind of a result of it.
Yeah, I'm like, and it's. I could do. I mean, listen, it was just the most natural way for me to write. Like, I consider myself a genre writer. Like, if I sent you other scripts that I wrote, you'd be like, "Oh, he writes genre, right?" And there's no genre. I mean, this is like a little bit of an experimental film. There's really no act breaks. There's no turning points. It's all episodic. I'm kind of like, it was fun just to kind of really go back to what. I'm not saying people who make indies aren't making indies. I'm not trying to disrespect their indie process, but like I'm a little bit of a fan of the '90s indies, right? So I kind of, went back to that, and it was just fun, and I made it for like less than 4, more than 3. It was like between 3 and 400,000, which is crazy.
Wow. Yeah, no, that's especially for some of the the actors that you got. That is amazing.
Yeah, and I said this in another interview. Everyone's like, it was game 7 every day. Everyone gave a shit, and that's important. I don't know if that's a reflection of me as a director, and because directing's really more managerial, in a way, So, but yeah, they really gave it their all. Like everybody from, I mean, I had people that never acted before to Ritchie Costa, who like worked with Heath Ledger, right? So Christopher Nolan and Michael Mann, and Paul Ben-Victor has been in probably 100 films and 100 episodes of TV, so it was great. I think everyone was wonderful. And, there's ups and downs. You make a $300,000 film, right?
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
So I know we have limited time. I'm going to switch to, I call it the lightning round. They're just really lightweight questions about the film. I want to see how your personal experiences map to things in the movie. You can feel free to pass any of them. I will not be offended, but I try to keep them very answerable.
Okay, go ahead.
First question. So one of the characters was a rising influencer. How many followers do you have, or do you even know?
I'm not on Instagram.
Okay, that answers that question. When was your last office job?
I have to go back to my mortgage days. I used to be a mortgage broker before I came into film.
Oh, wow. All right.
I owned a mortgage company. Yeah. So a while ago, though.
Good, good handling finances.
During the Big Short era, but go ahead.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Yeah. So
I actually wrote a screenplay about it. I have a pilot that I wrote about it, but hopefully I'll make it someday. Go ahead.
Fingers crossed. All right. Well, this could be an easy one then. Have you ever been in an office emergency? Sounds like during the Big Short days, there were probably a lot of office emergencies. Maybe not like this one, but other types.
I'll say this: when the market crashed, I was relieved.
Oh, wow. All right. That's a good outlook.
I remember the New Century thing in the Big Short. Remember the New Century went down the toilet?
Yep.
Yeah, I remember that. I was happy. Go ahead.
Oh, wow. So the next question, so this movie starts the day after some sort of like wild office party. Have you ever been to a, wild office party, maybe a party that kind of got a little out of hand?
No. Like, it's crazy, but I haven't. Like, there was never drinks after work for anywhere I worked.
Oh, interesting. Oh.
Yeah, it just never happened, but I figured people do it, so I used it.
Yeah, no, for sure. And probably better overall that you didn't have that experience, because some things could go very wrong. This film also dealt with social media and someone who had some like past tweets that came back to haunt them. Have you ever had a like tweet or social media post that you wish you had deleted?
I don't know, honestly. I don't think so, because I used to like rant a little bit on Facebook, but not bad.
Well, and that's probably good. If you don't know, that means it hasn't come back to bite you. So there we go. And the last question is, when was the last time that you fired a gun, or maybe you haven't ever fired a gun?
Oh, I've never fired a gun in my life. Isn't that crazy? Yeah, like I never even. I can't say I never touched a gun. And I have nothing against people want to own guns, but I don't. It's kind of weird, like a Bill Maher approach to guns. Like he owns one, but he's against it. You know what I mean? Like I get there needs to be a lot of. I'm not a political person. I know probably this is a political film. You're like, how can you not be a political person? I literally approach this as an artist. Totally. Like I found empathy in everybody in this movie, and that's how I have to write. And I write like that in everything that I do, even good or bad.
Yeah, for sure. And that is fascinating that you never fired a gun. I mean, good for you. Like, keep it up. But that is fascinating, especially in America. You haven't fired a gun. That is an interesting piece.
Yeah.
So, well, I know you have a lot of other interviews today, so we have to wrap. But thank you so much for your time. This was Emilio Mauro, the writer and director of Another Day in America, which is currently on the festival circuit. It's filming next at the Boston International Film Festival on April 11, 2024. You can look for that, and then also look forward to his future film about The Big Short. I'm excited to see that one as well. Hopefully, that also ends in the bang as well.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That was Emilio Mauro, the writer and director of Another Day in America, which is currently on the festival circuit and is screening next on April 11, 2024 at the Boston International Film Festival. It is a dark comedy satire about a seemingly regular day in the office and how that intersects with some of the issues going on in America right now. If you like this interview, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me out a lot. Make sure all my new content goes straight to you. Thank you.